Hi, this is Scott with Specter Gear, and for today's product spotlight, we're going to be taking a look at our Buttstock magazine pouches for the Mini-14 and Mini-30 carbines. When it comes to the subject of buttstock ammunition carriers, something that I often state is that there are any number of circumstances you could involve yourself in where whatever's in or on the weapon are all you're going to have to solve your problem. From a law enforcement standpoint, it may be a particularly hot call. It could be an active shooter situation, a bad traffic stop, wherein if you even have time to grab a long gun, whatever's in and on the gun is all you're going to have to solve the problem, unless you've taken the precaution to mount something on your duty belt, for which we offer options for that as well. Pretty much that's the case. And for a home defender, it's often that situation. At 3 o'clock in the morning, you get awakened by somebody kicking in your front door. You're not going to have time to put on a battle belt and a plate carrier and all of that. You're going to grab your gun and go and defend your home. And again, whatever's on or in the gun is all you're going to have to solve the problem. And that's why it makes a lot of sense to take the precaution to put some kind of additional ammunition storage on the weapon itself, so that you've always got that critical life-saving reload available for the weapon when it's needed. So what we're looking at today is options for the Mini-14. And when it comes to the Mini-14, as you can see here, I got a nice one right in front of us. I've been an owner of Mini-14s my entire shooting career. The first one I bought was back in the early 80s. Bought another one in the mid 80s. Bought a couple more in the 90s. This is one of those guns, and I've been running them pretty consistently the entire time. I like the gun. It's a pretty good indicator by the number of products we make for the Mini-14 that someone here is a fan, and that's me, and as well as my business partner Jeff. He too likes the weapon system as well. But I'll do that maybe in a separate video. I'll actually break down my particular Mini-14s and show you some of the setups that I have and talk a little bit more about the gun. But suffice it to say, you got a fan here at Specter Gear if you're a Mini-14 owner. So getting into the pouches themselves, first off, let me explain. We have two very distinctly different types of pouches that we're going to be talking about. And in terms of this particular pouch here, which is the pouch for the standard capacity 20-round magazines, we have two versions of this, and that is one for the 5.56 millimeter Mini-14, also the 300 blackout and the 6.8, but this particular mag body. And then we have another one for the 7.62 by 3.9 millimeter Mini-30 mags. The only difference between the two pouches in that range is that the Mini-30 is going to be longer. Dimensionally, the flaps are going to be longer. The pouch body is going to be a little bit taller, but otherwise the construction is identical and the operation is identical. Now the second pouch we're talking about today is our 210 pouch, and what this is designed to hold two steel body 10-round magazines, and it will hold either the 5.56 millimeter Ruger Mini-14 mag, but it will also hold the 7.62 by 3.9 millimeter Mini-30 mag. The only difference being the Velcro, or rather the flap, is going to ride a little higher on the pouch body because of the additional height of the magazine, but you do get full Velcro engagement. So those are the two different types of pouches. And then within that, there's some additional variations in terms of purchasing decisions you're going to have to make. And we'll talk about that when we get towards the end of the video on how to actually, which one to select for whatever particular setup you have on your gun. But let me break down the construction on the pouches real quick. On the 20 rounder, we have a pouch body constructed of 1,000 denier Cordura nylon with a 420 denier pack cloth, and obviously is our Velcro loop. This is sewn to a flap that's two layers of type 17-337 webbing, and here's our Velcro hook to complete the closure mechanism. And on that flap, we have our vertically oriented pull tab. Now, that would be vertically in a traditional pouch setup. In this case, it's pointing forward. It's not vertical. It's actually horizontal. But you get my point. This was actually kind of the birth of the vertically oriented pull tab, by the way, in that when we designed this pouch, we wanted to decrease the distance in which you needed to reach in order to pop this flap open. If you had a flap that was protruding off of the end of the flap here, or rather if you had a pull tab that's protruding off the end of the flap, you'd have to reach that much further back to fish that out. And then if that pull tab happened to get caught underneath the flap or was difficult to fish out with your fingers, it's going to slow you down. With this one, it's easy to access, and you only have to reach about that far back to actually open up. So that was kind of the beginning of that. We'll see a different type of pull tab system on this one. We'll talk about that when we get there. And of course on the back side, we have our attachment straps for actually attaching this to your sling or in a standalone fashion, and we'll talk about that towards the end. Another thing to note is that both of these pouches are completely ambidextrous. In other words, you can set this up for a right-handed shooter to run off of the right side of the buttstock, and for a left-handed shooter to run off the left side of the buttstock. You just simply flip it over. This can be, the front attachment strap can be reoriented because it is removable and reversible. So this can be pulled out, flipped around, reinserted so that your adjustment loop is now at the top. And I'll get into that in a separate video where I show how to actually set this up on your gun. That's a little time consuming and I'm not going to bother you with it during this video. This is just an overview of the product itself. But there will be a separate video following where I'll show how to actually set this up on your sling or as a standalone unit. So that's pretty much it for this particular pouch. On the 210 pouch, we have, in this case, two separate pouch bodies, although they are one unitized unit. These also are constructed 1,000 denier Cordura nylon with a 420 denier pack cloth liner. The pouch bodies are sewn to a back face that is 2 layers of 1,000 denier Cordura nylon with 2 layers of 1250 ballistic inside. So it's pretty heavy duty construction here, and you can tell from this level of stitching. Again, we do not mess around when it comes to stitching at Specter gear. The separately and independently operating flaps are 2 layers of type 17337 webbing with, of course, our Velcro closure system. And now let me talk a little bit about this pull tab system, which is different. You're used to seeing that vertically oriented pull tab here, and of course on all the rest of our belt pouches, MOLLE pouches. In this case, we've gone with one that hangs off the bottom. But we put some engineering into it that I think is noteworthy. First off, we set this up so that it's not going to get trapped underneath the flap. And also, when you go to hit this thing, we've designed it so that there's a fold that's built into this, and it's kind of a lever. When that fold hits the end of the flap, it doesn't fold over to the top of the flap, it just becomes rigid, and it makes it then easier to open up that flap. It's just a minor little engineering tweak, but I kind of like it, and there's a couple of reasons for this. Now, some people will unpocket the gun from their shoulder, go muzzle up, reach over the top of the stock, and pull the flap. In that case, whether it's vertically or this system, it doesn't really matter. But where it does matter is for those people that are trained to do all of these maneuvers from the shoulder pocket. That means the gun is still mounted in the pocket. They're going to bring their non-firing hand underneath the weapon. And when you come underneath the weapon, what you don't want to have to do is go, again, any higher than you have to get a hold of that flap. So what we wouldn't want is a flap that you have to now reach all the way up here and grab and then somehow pull. As you can see, that doesn't work, whereas this does, and you can get up underneath there a lot easier. It's, you know, one thing that's kind of missing from these tabletop demos is this would be better shown, I think, on a range setting where I'm actually doing a reload. And it's something that my partner Jeff and I have talked about, and we are going to be doing a lot more range work here in the near future where we show how this stuff is done live fire. So look for that to come up pretty soon. But suffice it to say, it's a decent little system. Wherever we can, we try to give you any advantage possible in a product that we design. And sometimes it's just a little tweak like this, but we put in the extra effort to make it happen. So, and again, finishing this up, going to the back side, we have our attachment system. Similar to this setup here, but a little different in layout. Of course, your front attachment strap is removable and reversible, as is your rear attachment. Because when you flip this thing over to the other side, it's not like this where it's just a simple lateral. If you turn this one over, now the flap's face down. So what happens in this case is both of these are removable, so that when you go to flip it to the other side, in order to maintain your flaps in the upward position, this rear attachment now moves here, and this now moves here. Again, that'll be covered in the install portion. We'll talk more about that, and that video will be following this one shortly. So that's the basic layout of the different variants and versions of these pouches. Now let me talk real quick about your purchasing decision. because there's a couple of ways to buy these. The first way to buy it is we offer what's called a Buttstock magazine pouch kit. And when you buy that kit, what you're going to receive is just this. You're going to get the pouch. It's going to have your front attachment strap, but it's going to have no mechanism for attaching this to your weapon at all. This is designed as an add-on to an existing Specter gear sling. Now this is the rear adapter for our Mini-14 and Mini-30 fixed stock slings. So if you have purchased a Specter gear sling for a Mini-14 or a Mini-30, you already have this part. This is the necessary part that this Buttstock magazine pouch attaches to. And that's either one. They both attach the same way. You open this rear attachment portion, you close it over the cross strap of the rear adapter, which is this part here that the Buttstock actually sits in, and you are now good to go. This is can now be mounted on the weapon. Okay, so this is with your existing sling. So again, let me reiterate. If you already have a Specter gear sling that has this part, all you need to buy is the Buttstock magazine pouch kit with no rear adapter provided. Again, the intent here is this is an add-on to your existing sling. However, if you don't own a Specter gear sling, or you don't want to run a sling, and you want to run a standalone unit similar to this setup I have here, there's no sling attached to the gun at this time. You just want a Buttstock mag pouch on the gun. What you're going to buy then is the Buttstock magazine pouch with rear adapter provided. And what you will receive at that point is this. You will have the Buttstock magazine pouch with the front attachment strap, and we will provide you with a rear adapter to go on your gun. The intent here is, what we don't want to do is, if you already own a Specter gear sling, we don't want to sell you another adapter that you don't need. Because all you're going to do is just throw it away. And that's wasteful for you, it's wasteful for us, and it also ends up costing you more, because the Buttstock mag pouch kit is less expensive than the standalone unit. So please consider that when you're making your purchase. And also consider the magazine type that you have. If you have a 20 round Mini-14 type mag, we have a pouch for that. If you have a 20 round Mini-4 or Mini-30 mag, there's a separate pouch for that. And if you are going to be running 10 round Mini-14 or Mini-30 pouches, we have this version here. So I hope that kind of clears those things up and doesn't create much confusion. But with that, that's kind of an overview of the different Buttstock magazine pouches that we offer for the Mini-14 and the Mini-30. Again, following shortly will be a video on how to install this on your particular weapon. And then sometime in the future, we'll be doing some actual range work with these, so you can see how this is done live fire on the range. And then another video that I promised, I'm creating a lot of extra work for myself apparently, is a video kind of profiling the Mini-14 as a weapon system. And that's going to be kind of a, not necessarily selling a product, but just kind of heaping a little praise on a gun that I happen to like and have used for many years. So with that, I'm going to bring this to a close. And thank you for listening. And as always, these products are manufactured right here in the United States in Visalia, California, and can be purchased at www.spectergear.com. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.